Welcome to the Real Estate Espresso Podcast, your morning shot of what's new in the world of real estate investing. I'm your host, Victor Menasce. On today's show, we're talking about how to set goals for the coming year. Every year, I host a 2.5-day goal-setting retreat. And over that time, we do some very deep work on understanding your values and setting high-quality goals. On today's show, we're talking about two types of goals that you can set. The first are attainment goals. These are the goals that have a specific outcome. It might be something like buy a new house for my growing family by December of 2023, or perhaps increase my income to $20,000 a month by the end of the year. Those are attainment goals. Attainment goals, if well articulated, can be powerful guideposts in helping you determine the thousands of day-to-day decisions that ultimately make up the next hour, the next day, the next week, and ultimately your life. But there's a second type of goal that, in my experience, is more powerful than an attainment goal, and that's a habit goal. Habit goals become part of you. They become you rather than something that you do. You see, our culture is obsessed with having. Many people start with the notion of having. Attainment goals, by their very nature, have the idea of having at their very core. From the notion of having, people back up and ask the next question. What do I need to do in order to have what I want to have? On the surface, it sounds like a sensible and logical train of thought. In fact, in our culture, we're taught how to do things. That's what we're taught at school. How to do things is at the core of our education systems. But in my experience, it was a more powerful question that's rarely asked. And that question is, who do I need to be? The question, who do I need to be, sets context. And setting context is almost always more powerful than focusing on content. Climbing the ladder is focused on content. But is the ladder leaning against the correct wall for me is setting context. And this is so important. I'm going to say it again. Is the ladder leaning on the right wall for me? That's setting context. It's like asking the question, who do I need to be in this matter? Am I the infantry soldier? Am I the sergeant? Am I the colonel? Or am I the 4-star general? Your goal might be to go conquer that hill. But the way you approach conquering the hill is going to be vastly different depending on who you're going to be in the matter. The infantry soldier will grab their backpack and start marching up the hill to conquer it. The 4-star general will assemble the winning team, plan the resources, and go execute the plan with a team of colonels, majors, lieutenants, and infantry soldiers. What you do to achieve the same goal will vary dramatically depending on who you choose to be in the matter. And unless you ask the question of who you need to be, the goal gets set by default using a role that is at best undefined and at worst completely unconscious. So having actually starts with being. That's why broke people, when they win the lottery, are usually broke a short time later. They focus on having rather than being. Someone who has a wealthy mindset will retain their wealth even if they win the lottery, and that too starts with being. What would a wealthy person do with the lottery winnings? Well, they would invest the winnings into income streams that would multiply the winnings. Then what would they want to have as a result of that doing? They might take a portion of the earnings and enjoy a few life luxuries using those profits. They might undertake a philanthropic effort. That could include a charitable foundation and using a portion of the earnings from the foundation towards a social cause. And what would a broke person do with the lottery winnings? Well, they would go out and buy stuff. They would spend the winnings on consumer items like cars and TVs and maybe a bigger house. Or they might make an outright donation to a charitable cause, but once that donation is spent, the money's gone. See, goal setting is performed in the sequence of be, do, have. If you focus on having first, then you get stuck in a loop of doing and having and doing and having and doing and having, but you never get out of that loop because you're stuck on a hamster wheel. And it turns out that the habit goals are part of being. And many of you have heard of the idea of a 30-day challenge. Well, I'm going to tell you the story of a particular 30-day challenge. You see, back in the day, there were two struggling comedians who were struggling to create content. So they set up a 30-day challenge. The idea was pretty simple. They would each sit down at their desk and write material for 30 minutes every day for 30 days. And guess what? They both did it. They got together after 30 days and they compared notes, and they both sat down and wrote material for 30 minutes for 30 days. But the second one of those two comedians decided to modify the challenge slightly. Rather than write for 30 minutes, he changed it to write one joke every day. And he decided that he didn't want to break the chain. So he continued that challenge for the next 7 years. See, that second guy is Jerry Seinfeld. And I have no idea who the first guy is because he quit after 30 days. See, Jerry Seinfeld didn't set a goal to have 5 million or 10 million in net worth. That wasn't his goal at all. It was to write one joke every day. And he did that consistently, became part of his being. And the rest happened as a consequence of who he was as an individual, rather than something that he did. So as you look forward to setting goals for 2023, focus on setting some habit goals and decide who it is that you actually want to be. As you think about that, have an awesome rest of your day. Go make some great things happen. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.